Hello, friends. I'm back again. Thank you for those who are still watching and those who've subscribed. I would love it if you're watching me for the first time. Please hit that subscribe button because that really helps with getting the content to more people. I know that some of my videos have been helpful to some people, especially those wanting to move to the States as RNs. So today I'm talking particularly about resume red flags. There's quite a few things that can stop you from getting that job that you've been trying to get. I was interacting with somebody recently who is trying to get a job in an ICU. We know that many people like to work in ICU, but it can be very difficult to get that first ICU job. So if you have a job that you're targeting for whatever reason, let's say maybe you're a nurse who wants to ultimately become a CRNA, you need to have ICU experience. And that's why ICU jobs are so popular because many people use ICU as that stepping stone to ultimately becoming a CRNA. You can't become a CRNA without having worked in a critical care environment like ICU or CVICU, somewhere with really high acuity. So I'm going to talk about the resume red flags that you need to avoid if you're trying to get into that specific type of job. It's going to be difficult anyway to get a job if you have these things on your resume. One of the first things I would say is beware of employment gaps. If you have gaps in your employment, make sure that you're explaining them. So if you took time off to look after a sick relative or you took time off to go back to school, then make sure that it's clear that you were in school. I know some people maybe are on those visas that you get after you finish your nurse training. They give you, I think, a year or so to look for employment. If you're having difficulties with securing permanent employment in that period, then you need to find a way to explain that on your resume so that it doesn't look like you are an unstable person who's constantly changing jobs. So make it clear on your resume that you were either still a student and in school, and that's why you were not stable within a post or a job, or that you were caring for a family member, whatever it is that you were doing, find a way to explain it on your resume. Another thing that is very closely linked to that is if you're the type of person who's been job hopping. So you get into a job, you stay there for a few months, and you leave. If your jobs have only lasted for a few months or less than a year, sometimes even less than 2 years, can be concerning for some recruiters and managers because recruiting a person is very expensive. And then on top of that, once you're in a job, they put a lot of time and money and effort into training you up, especially if you're coming into ICU as an inexperienced ICU nurse. Maybe you're an experienced nurse, but not ICU. What it takes to train you up to become a competent ICU nurse is very expensive, and not just in terms of financial cost, but in terms of time, it takes up time within their numbers because they have to put you with someone who works with you for a certain number of weeks until you're competent. So when you're writing your resume, another thing that you need to be very clear about is your skills and your experience. If you use very, very general terms without really being specific about that experience and skills, anybody can put, I am a team player, or I am a great collaborator. Anybody can write that because those are sort of buzzwords, keywords. If you have a lot of those in your resume without actually putting in sort of substantive evidence or information to demonstrate that, yeah, I have these skills and have this experience. So you might want to put a bullet point in there that says something like, collaborated with a team that increased the uptake of immunizations from 70% to 90% in a locality where for religious reasons, immunization rates were really low. So, you're putting more information, like you've put a percentage that we worked as a team to increase the uptake of immunizations from 70% to 90%. Whether you're saying you implemented, let's say, outreach programs that targeted specific groups in order to get them fully engaged with health promotion or whatever it is. If you say it like that, it shows that you actually did these things. But if you say team player, collaborator, implementer, that doesn't mean anything. Anyone can put those words in. So your resume has to demonstrate that kind of evidence of the things that you claim to have done. And then the length of your resume. People don't do 5, 6 page resumes anymore. Your ability to write in a clear and concise manner will be very important, because that's another, way of demonstrating that you're capable of using language effectively. So if you're someone who's early in your career, let's say you are a student nurse and you're looking for your first job as a nurse, one page will be sufficient, because you're going to be talking about your clinical experience, your clinicals that you did during your nurse training. That's what you're going to use as evidence of what you've done as a nursing student. So you'll have a few bullet points about each clinical that you did and the skills that you learned there. And then if you're someone who's more experienced, maybe 2 pages, just depending on how varied your career has been, and how much experience and skills and knowledge you've picked up. But basically for each relevant job, because you don't actually have to list irrelevant jobs in there. You focus on the jobs that are most relevant, but those are the ones that you're going to highlight on your resume. Without leaving gaps, you will highlight the jobs that are relevant to the specific post that you're applying to. So if you know that this job was very relevant to this post that I'm applying, that's where you're going to have 2 to 3 bullet points. If another job that you did just needs to be shown to show the chronology of your career and avoid employment gaps, you don't need to repeat if it's got the exact same skills that you had, from something else. Don't repeat, because that's going to be annoying for the person that's reading your resume. And then the way that you order your resume in terms of what comes first. Your experience and your skills should come right at the top. That's what they want to know. Do you have the skills and the experience? Your education, you might be very impressive. You might have a PhD, whatever it is, that can come right at the end. Because yes, it's important that you've got the education and the credentials, but it's more important that you have the experience that they're looking for. So you got to put in your experience and your skills right at the top of your resume and highlight that immediately. I'm the person you're looking for. I'm the person with the experience and the skills that match up with that job description. So writing your resume is, it can be really easy, if you think about what are they asking for in the job description, and what skills do I possess that match up to that. If you feel like you're not good at doing that for yourself, you can use ChatGTP to help you with that. But don't just copy and paste what ChatGTP says. You have to make it sound like yourself, make it personal. Make sure that there's no spelling and grammar errors in the resume. So those are the red flags that I would say be cautious of when you're writing your resume, and targeting that dream job that you want to get in nursing. Yes, there's a shortage of nurses everywhere, but it can also be really difficult to break into certain nursing jobs which are in high demand. We know that jobs like ICU, many people want to get into ICU. L&D, that's another popular one. I think ED as well is really, really popular. So when you're trying to target those jobs, remember you are one of thousands of applicants. So you have to make yourself stand out in some way. And then besides the resume itself, if you can find someone to refer you, managers like to employ people that have been referred by someone to them, because they can ask direct questions and say, do you know this person? Do you think they would fit in well in our team? Should we give this person a chance? Obviously, if someone is referring you, then they want to make sure that you're not going to be given a job and then become an utter embarrassment to them. So if you know people, network, get to know people. And if someone works in a specialty that you want to get into, see if they can refer you, so that maybe they can help you break into that specialty. They might be able to refer you directly to their own manager, or they might have a network of other people that they know locally in other ICUs or in other specialties that you're trying to get into, and they can refer you, because if you have a referral, your resume has a better chance of even being looked at than someone who's just applying blindly. So those are the tips that I have. I'm going to post in the description a template of a resume that is very simple and basic, but gets picked up by automatic tracking systems and can help you write a better resume. Do comment below and hit the subscribe button. Again, it helps me a lot in terms of getting the content out to more people who might find it useful or helpful. And let me know in the comments as well if there's a specific topic that you need help with, and I'll see if I can make a video about that. Until next time, bye.